Yeah. Yeah, cheers everyone, by the way. Thank you for taking your time on a Friday afternoon. It's very civilised. Did you like that? I couldn't resist. I don't suppose people sitting a couple of rows back can actually see anything on this screen. Do you want to come forward? Come forward, because I can't make it any bigger, unfortunately. Okay.
Oh dear. How many has he had?
There's some really interesting stuff that I want to share with you today. There's basically 5-6 components to this session. What I'm assuming is we've got varying levels of knowledge inside the business. So when Tim and Ross said, you know, can you just sort of like kick things off, I thought, right, okay, well let's start at the bottom and assume that some people know everything about everything, some people know very little, and some people just happen to be new to the company. So I'm working on the basis that actually we all find stuff interesting, so let's just have a wander through some stuff that at the moment is sort of becoming interesting. Might not be the next big thing, but it's worth having a look at. So I've dug out a few things here which actually are representative of a journey that I took online last night, and I think there's some bits in this that some people will know a little bit about, some people might not know anything about. So first off, I started here with a service called FriendFeed. Is anybody using FriendFeed? So that's about 3 out of about 50 people. Okay. It's a really interesting concept. What it does, it just aggregates all your stuff in one place. So if you're on Twitter, you're using Delicious, you've got a blog, you want to look at what other people are doing, it all comes into one place. I use it on an iPod Touch. It's great. I just get a complete list of what's going on, all the people that I'm interested in. It tells me what they've been looking at, what they've been saying, what they're collecting, what they're commenting on, all sorts of interesting stuff. It's very, very different to the Facebook feed concept. How many people are on Facebook, just out of interest? Pretty much everyone. Has anybody got any frustrations with Facebook, by any chance?
I don't want to be a pirate.
Don't want to be a what?
Ever.
We'll always be a pirate.
Or a zombie, maybe. Yeah, exactly. Well, the reason for me shifting personally to FriendFeed off of Facebook is that I've just had enough of the crap on Facebook. It's a place where originally I found it really useful because I could connect with people and I could get an update on what they were doing, and I found some interesting stuff. And then I got, like everybody else, hit with zombies, and I don't know about the pirates, I've just been ignoring it, so I've missed that bit. But FriendFeed's useful because it helped me last night pick up on something really interesting that took me to Twitter. And it turns out it was just a comment made on somebody's blog. I thought, right, I'm going to check that person out because it actually happened to be a name of somebody inside Bank of America. So I thought, oh, all right, let's go and see if it is the same person. As it happens, it wasn't. But the person who had the same name as one of the people at Bank of America pointed me at something else very interesting called Guitarati. Has anybody seen this? It's a fascinating concept. It's a search engine for music entirely driven by colour. I really like it. I've only played with it for half an hour last night, but you know, to a group that is deeply interested in search, the idea of searching through colours, very different thing.
How does that work? Like what do you mean search through colours?
You basically choose a colour according to mood, and it'll bring back a load of tracks. So tracks are tagged by colours when you upload them. It's a very interesting concept.
Sounds like there's an accessibility lawsuit waiting to happen there.
Maybe, maybe.
You can always just choose black.
I don't think black features on this somehow, but
I thought that'd be the favourite colour.
no, I just recommend have a look at it because it's a really interesting concept. The bit that really intrigued me was because it's just doing things, finding things a different way. It's not algorithmically generated, so it's not about trying to understand how to work out how a system works. It's a user-generated thing. So not only is it a platform for people to share music, but it's a very, very interesting way of finding stuff. And I think it's personally, we're going to see more variations. I'm really interested in your views on it, Nils, as to how it is that search evolves, because that's purely driven by emotion. It's taking data, which all of these things that I'll show you have an extremely important part of their makeup is driven by the data, but in this, it's a very different way of broaching things. So
do people tag different
Yeah.
colors for everything, and then?
So if I uploaded me playing when I'm cleaning windows on my ukulele and tagged it according to mood, I'd probably make it orange.
Really?
Well, some people feel about things in different ways to others, so it's a very interesting way of working out how people think. So you get to see intentions in different ways. I guess that's the point. So where that took me was, I was just thinking about this. It's like, yeah, music and art, all very interesting. And actually, the next slide, there we are, I've got my timing right. It's all about what's interesting. So those things took me on a journey. I ended up at an art place because I love art. And Paul Clay, how did you ever say it? Jason would know Clay. I love his pictures. I just love his artwork. I'm not like, you know, deeply interested at an academic level about it, but this interests me. And so the point I want to make is that, as I said at the beginning, we all get involved in the web in different ways. Home, work, friends, whatever else. If you find out what's interesting to you via the web, it is so easy to create your own footprint. And how many people have got their own blogs just out of interest? It's about half. That's interesting because we've been talking a lot in the team, Adam and I, the last couple of days, and Charlie, Simon, Ben, you know, it's like, we've really got to be doing this stuff to be able to, like, and Matt. In fact, Matt was the one who provoked the conversation. It's like, we can't do this without doing it. So, yeah, so there's a lot of challenge going on in our team up here to, like, you know, really getting stuck into proving that we're actually doing it. So I guess what I'm trying to say here, very simple thing, is just by being on the web, you're creating a footprint. Every click, every search, everything else is creating a footprint, but you might not necessarily be using that data. Last.fm, everybody aware of Last.fm? Anybody not aware of it? That's amazing. That's amazing. Everybody knows about Last.fm. That's awesome. That's how Jason got his job. We talked through messaging on Last.fm, and I said to him, come over this way, we'll prize you out, and I'll keep myself low, because the company I sold my business to, Jason was working for, so it was a bit dicey, sort of pulling him out, but we did it all through Last.fm. Anyway, we left a footprint, but it was in a private context. But the important thing about that is it's just collecting data, and it's what you can do with the data that's so fascinating. And one of the best mashups I've seen recently, bringing my ukulele playing back into it, is there's a fantastic mashup that takes your Last.fm tracks that you've been listening to, and it draws on 2 other data sources, and it pulls in the songs that are going to be easiest for you to play, and gives you the chords and the lyrics. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. It just makes, you know, playing an instrument a real joy. So what I'm getting at is there are really simple things you can do without having to, like, become a blogger or set something massive up. You know, you can just participate. So that doesn't take a great deal of effort to set up if you haven't done it already. Magnolia is a really interesting one as well. How many people are aware of Delicious bookmarking service? Again, pretty much everyone, 3/4. Well, Magnolia is just a really elegant way of doing what Delicious does. I like Delicious, but the user experience sucks. Yahoo haven't really invested in it. It's not really sort of like come to be something it could be. Magnolia, on the other hand, is a beautiful thing. It really is. I've switched today to Magnolia. I took everything out of Delicious, straight into Magnolia, and I can blog it, I can tag it, I can customize it, and it delivers thumbnails of all your links. So it generates a really impressive post, automatically scheduled on a daily basis, and that took me 1 hour to set up. Literally, export, import, bosh, publish. So I'm very excited about Magnolia. What's interesting to you, however, is not what's interesting to me, but I can share this if I want to. So this is going to roll on in about a minute. I'm just curious as to any other services that people use that aren't Delicious or Magnolia for bookmarking. Dig? Anything else?
Tried Blue Dot.
Blue Dot? Stumble Upon? Do people save stuff to Facebook?
No, put in a feed.
That's really interesting to know because, you know, BBC chose, as I recall, Delicious, Dig, Stumble Upon and Facebook as places for people to save bookmarks. Why choose Facebook, particularly in a group of like early adopters? Nobody's using it.
I think Facebook's about sharing it. Facebook's about sharing it.
Yeah.
Whereas,
About posting it, isn't it?
yeah, Delicious is more about bookmarking it to find yourself later.
Yeah. So the interesting point in all of this is there is so much stuff out there that is interesting to you. I guess where I'm sort of starting from is you can make yourself interesting really easily just by being aware of what your footprint is. And Last FM's taught me loads about my music habits because I thought I was really into a certain sort of stuff, and I go to parties and say, oh yeah, I listen to all these like, you know, cool bands, and then as it turns out, Simon must have got the ultimate T-shirt from Anthony, which said, I listen to bands that don't even exist yet. So taste is so advanced. I'm like, yeah, right, okay. So I'm back in my moderate indie kid bracket. So the next stage beyond this is like, well, how do you actually start sharing your footprint and taking control of your footprint to an extent? We've been talking lots about Twitter up here because it's a really, really simple thing. Is there anybody here who hasn't seen Twitter? Blimey, that's everybody. Has everybody used it? Anybody not used it? Okay, about half. It's really simple. It's just like Facebook status. You just type in what you're doing. And on the surface of it, you think, well, does anybody care? In the main, no. But occasionally, it is a really insightful thing. I just captured this last night when I was sat up in the attic putting this together, listening to Yo La Tengo, and I felt great. This is joy. I'm doing stuff I love, as in work I love, in a place that I'm completely at home, because it's my home, and I'm just enjoying myself. And I checked out what some friends were doing, and Lloyd Davis is a guy I worked on a couple of really interesting social media projects for BP a couple of years ago. He also plays the ukulele. He's also setting up a social media camp, a bit like Bar Camp, if anybody knows about Bar Camp. I know Adam was there recently. People are interested. There are lots of get-togethers where those that are enthusiastic about this stuff are just forming relationships, all sorts of companies represented, and some of the big guns like Yahoo and whatever else. They're coming down to Brighton to, like, you know, help us work this stuff out. So there's a sort of very underground alternative, if you like, to setting up big meetings with Google and stuff. So it's all happening. And things like Flickr, Twitter, FriendFeed, they're all in this vein where people are they're sort of circumventing conventional hierarchies of communication and just doing it. And I learn loads from this because I get to find out where people are. And this morning I was at home working, and so I just kept updating Twitter, thinking, all right, if anybody's interested, they'll notice on my Twitter that I'm saying I'm coming in at 11:15 or whatever it was.
Jim, are you following as many people who are following you?
No, that's a really interesting point. Much like FriendFeed, I've just got overloaded with like all the crap in Facebook. I don't want to be super popular. I don't want to be famous. I just want to like follow interesting people and get information that's going to be helpful to me and sort of share back likewise. So on Twitter, I've got 40 people following me, which I'm quite flattered about. I've no idea who half of them are. And 15 people I'm following. That's enough. I mean, when you think about your friendship groups, how many people can you keep in touch with, and how many people do you actually want to have a conversation with on a daily basis? But when it's people that are industry luminaries who are literally like, that's an interesting notion, and you get it live from the horse's mouth, yeah, it can divert the whole way a day unfolds at times. So I'm pretty interested in this. Meg's a really interesting woman. I used to work with her at AOL. She's the head of communities for The Guardian. And yeah, she's not been well lately, so I've been following her health on Twitter. And someone picked up the phone and it's like, oh, how are you doing? You feeling all right? She's like, yeah, but not great. But, you know, it's all coming out, warts and all on here. And that's fine because she's only sharing likewise, as you said rightly. How many people are you sharing it with? She's just sharing it with people she wants to share it with. So I think this is what we're seeing with social networking. People really starting to work out what we want to communicate and who we want to communicate with, rather than let's all just dive into Facebook, big party. It's much like, you know, a real party. You get there and actually there's not much going on. It's not very exciting. So you disappear to the kitchen or whatever else, you know. Or actually you go home, or you go and sit on the beach and a barbecue or whatever. So, you know, things are sort of emerging online in the same way they are offline, I guess. So anybody can do this, and if you've got something interesting to say, you'd be surprised how many people connect to you. There's a really influential blogger called Hugh MacLeod. Has anybody heard of him? He writes a blog called Gaping Void. In fact, it's one of the first things that Jason and I sort of like realised we had interest in both really liked his style, and he's become massively influential. And I got to meet him on a train journey, and we drank a bottle of scotch back from Cambridge once, and we had a really interesting chat. And he's an American guy, he used to work in Adelaide, but he's become one of the most influential bloggers because he's made blogging work for a small South African wine business, for example, called Stormhook. So if anybody's aware of that campaign, well, it's just been really big. He just said, I'm going to give away free wine to bloggers. And it's up to them whether they write about it or not. And in fact, lots of people did. And so then big voucher promotions and all that sort of stuff all stemmed from this activity of his. So I hooked up with him on here. In fact, I signed up and he linked to me. It's like, wow. Now I'm getting people that are on his contact list linking to me. It's interesting just how the, you know, the separation and the ripple effect and the rest of it, who you're connected with, it all adds up. So, you know, I suppose what's interesting for us is we've got to be observing this phenomenon to be able to advise clients on how to understand it. So it's a sort of in it to win it mentality, if you like. And that's really what I guess we're all challenging ourselves up here as to like, well, come on, let's do some more. Let's work out how this really works. And this sort of brings me on to the next point about this, is that we've been having this sort of conversation. How many people inside the company are actually blogging? What are they blogging about? Are their blogs any good? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I had a good look at them last night, and I know Anthony's very well. I know Dean's very well. Did everybody know that Dean blogs, by the way? Anybody know that he... Sorry, does anybody not know that Dean blogs? Well, he's done a fantastic job in terms of getting that around, because daily photo, I mean, that's a big commitment. That's one of the biggest challenges with blogging, and we're going through this with Bank of America. They're saying, we want to blog. And we're saying, right, okay, well, who's going to do that on a daily basis? Ooh, not quite sure about that. So, you know, working through the culture of this and finding a passion point and interest, we all know this stuff by common sense, but communicating that to a client is really, really difficult. Because they personally are unlikely to be the person that's going to end up blogging. So the work that Jason's been doing on personas for clients, those that are aware of that, it's really interesting because we're trying to work out who are going to be the clients that are going to be win-win on the business level, but also those that are going to be champions for the sorts of perspectives and interests we've got as a group. So helping them to help ourselves. So these blogs, they're all fantastic blogs. I've never been to Dan's blog before. Dan Goodwin's blog is awesome. Yeah, the guy is so talented, it's amazing. And this really sort of blew me away just putting these things together last night. I thought, yeah, Dean's is fantastic because of the daily commitment, and he does it, and there's a lot of interaction, he's got a lot of visitors, and he's got a lot of Technorati authority. People know what Technorati authority is? Anybody not know? Technorati authority is basically your rank. If you were to put all the blogs in the world together, taking the most popular with the most connections coming into it, right down to the most unpopular blog, i.e. probably the newest, you'd find your rank in it. And so you get an authority score. It's a bit like personal page rank, but just based on connections. So, you know, Dean's got a big score. Anthony's got a big score because he's been doing it for a long time. And I think it's very interesting, actually. Anthony's blog, before he did his blog, he wasn't anything to do with social media. He was in PR. And he's only been doing this for 2.5 years. But, you know, he's like achieved a fantastic level of connectivity, which has meant that, you know, he's viewed rightly as an authority on all matters relating to this area. So, yeah, it's great for us. And he wrote a really interesting post yesterday, which I left a comment on. And just wanted to share this point that actually, not only do we talk to each other on a daily basis, but we do talk to each other online as well. And so there's loads going on. We are genuinely connected. And I know there's this whole brand thing going on about us being connected. And it's like, well, what does that actually mean? Well, it means all of this sort of stuff. All of this is out there, it's real, and people are really passionate and doing a great job on it. Mark's likewise, you know, it's nice redesign, looks great. And I know that...
New this week?
New this week, yeah, there you go. But this is the thing, we can all support each other to leverage the network effects and see how this stuff really works. Not just talk about the theory of it, which inside the group up here, there's been a lot of like, too much talk, not enough action. That's because we really want to get on with it, and that's great. It keeps me inspired, the fact that this is just like a small selection of the blogs that I happened to put out last night, because they're all quite different. And Alex Assinio's blog, how awesome is that? Has anybody here actually looked at Alex's blog? Fair few, about a third. Alex's blog, it's amazing. So much of him in that. I learned more about him personally reading that last night than I have in any meetings we've been together. And you know, I was really sort of taken by how much care and love he's given it, and how awesome his photos are. It's, you know, he is a seriously talented blogger, and it's like, wow, blimey. I thought he was an actual search guy, and I don't even know what they do really. So, you know, I'm sort of learning on the job, but I'm seriously impressed. And Jason's blog about music, relatively new thing, but still doing it with former colleagues, I believe. So this is a co-authored blog. That's interesting because I don't think any of the others are. So that's why I put it in, because it's slightly different again, because we're all doing different things different ways. But this is really the key point. We all enjoy doing something, so those that are actually that committed to it, it's not that much effort to put up a blog. I promised Ray the other night I'd show him how to do it. So I will.
Oh, you just told everybody.
So there we are, you can expect to see Ray's
Free
blog.
PR there, Ray.
So there's lots and lots of interesting stuff going on around us, and this is one of the things that inspires me most about working here, and particularly sat up there, is that there's so much stuff going on around me. And you know, that's why email does my head in, that's why CRM, unfortunately, I'm sorry, the idea of it does my head in, because it's all stuff where I've got to like commit energy, and I have to wait off now just my laptop's open up, just to read the thing.
But it will be useful, Jim.
I'm sure it will.
So do it.
I will do it. I shall lead by
It
example.
will be
sure.
useful.
At some point. So the next point of this is once you've done some of this, as you know, it doesn't take a lot to get yourself on Google if you know what you're doing from an SEO point of view. I do know a bit about SEO, honestly. I know a fair bit actually. And so I've managed to get myself top of Google for my name, and that's great because there's a lot of James Byfords around, and likewise Jim Byford. So you know, I'm working on it.
Not bad.
And I've got my LinkedIn up there, which arguably is the most important thing for me on the web, my personal reputation. So that's cool. I've no idea who James Thomas Byford McCudden is, but I'll find out.
Just have him taken out if you want.
But interestingly, I found that, blimey, look, I've even got a universal type listing as well, you know, with a bit of video.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I look like death, you know. So I figured that actually there's a lesson there. If you're going to appear in public, don't do it pissed, particularly when it's work related. And fortunately,
Fair point.
learned the hard way, because you literally end up on Google like, oh shit, there I am, looking like I've had 3 glasses of wine, which is exactly what I say the first thing on the video. But it was true, so you know. But the important thing was we've done a really good presentation. This is Craig Hepburn and myself from STA Travel, and it went really well and got good feedback. So what I'm saying here is very, very simple. There's you, and you can push yourself out. We all know you can do that. So this is what we're doing for clients. And it's working out how to get the most appropriate stuff in there. So managing your own profile, we all know it's important, but how much attention do you actually give it? Well, it's going to be very important, as we know. This round the other way, friend feed. This is me sucking everything in. So they're both many-to-one relationships, but one me first, and here I am, out there to many. The other one round the other way. So many things coming into me. And this, as I said earlier on about friend feed, this really opened my eyes as to what's going to be possible. I'm dead excited about this because, like I say, it works a dream on iPod Touch. And that for me is just like the simplest way of reading this stuff, because I don't want to stare at it and get fixated on it, locked in my chair. So I like wandering around the house at home, catching up on what people are doing. It just feels a bit more natural, and I can do that, you know, with a baby under my arm or, you know, whatever else that I need to do at home. So that's all good. But what this does come down to, as per our upstairs mantra certainly, and company-wide mantra hopefully, about being useful. You have to share a bit of yourself in a useful way. I like the fact, and this is a sort of personal philosophy actually, that we're living and working with all this stuff. There's no distinction. Because on friend feed, I get a mixture of both. I get, you know, stuff that friends are doing, but actually they're work colleagues, so they're friends anyway. So I don't have to make the distinction. I'd be interested to know actually, is there anybody that thinks there has to be a distinction between your work communications and your friendship communications?
Depends what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into examples.
Yeah. But isn't it not? It's not any different to anywhere else, though, is it? Really? I'm just curious.
I mean, I think
it's worth bearing in mind that online that you are leaving a footprint of anything that you actually say or write, and that you should bear that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a big thing, especially in America. Like my friends that are looking for jobs on Facebook, some have completely deleted their profiles altogether because companies are looking into their photos and what they say to their friends, and some people are just editing them completely to a professional level, which you know makes it devoid of all kinds of personality. So yeah, absolutely, what you say online and your professional persona is completely.
And where you choose to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another way of actually weeding out who you want to work for. I wouldn't want to work for a company who got pissed off with what was on my Facebook.
That was going to be my point.
Yeah, totally.
In fairness, when you need to pay the rent though, and you've got you in a massive, I don't know,
Spliff, go on, say it. You're on camera.
But then actually that's your own fault, isn't it?
Well, no. Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's get on the legalization debate right now.
Spot the new parent.
If you've got loads of photos of yourself online with your arse out or with a split in your mouth,
that's what I'm saying though. There's a
but you
point.
don't post those photos. These days you can't go and get pissed and do a bit of karaoke and leave it the night. You know, the next day someone stuck it up on Facebook.
I believe it's Blur's song too, by the way.
I think companies will just get used to that, you know. They have to, otherwise there'll be nobody left to employ.
I was just about to say that, man. My God, you know, you're going to be narrowing it down to probably the most talented, uncreative people in the world.
Well, that's America.
This segues very neatly, as I hoped it would, into this next point, which is a very specific work thing, but actually it's not. Again, it's about life. I've never wanted to work with dull clients, so it's been a real challenge working on insurance, I have to admit. Happy to admit.
You've not seen the sex story then on more than.
No, I've learned to love it. And the work that we're doing on Living now, has anybody seen the video that the guys up here have created?
Wicked. Really good.
Anybody not seen it?
Just
some of the toy cars.
Yeah, check it out on Living. I mean, it's very lo-fi and it's great. It's just perfect.
It's really important you all watch it then.
Yeah. The important point is that we're trying things, you know, we're trying brand new things and we don't know the exact answer and what's going to come. But it's interesting. And the clients are saying, okay, that sounds interesting, it doesn't sound too risky, let's go with it. I mean, who'd have dreamt that you could make an insurance client interesting? And that was basically the point of the strategy with More Than. I know we've talked about it till the cows come home, but it was like first stage, right, let's make insurance company interesting. And then people might connect to it, and then it might get found in search, and then it might convert more sales. But first step, let's be interesting. And there's a lot of people in the ad world talking about this in the same way. It's like, we don't have to be right anymore, we just have to be interesting. It's very true, it's very true. Did you have a comment on that?
No, I was just wondering, is it possible to make something that's inherently not interesting, so it's insurance, it's a financial transaction? Is it like artificial to make it interesting? Because that doesn't actually fulfill the goal of why you probably engage with someone like More Than. You just want insurance and you want it to be safe, you want it to be the best cover. You don't perhaps want to know about what fun things they do.
Well,
interesting.
I'll share a perspective on that on the next bit actually.
I think there's loads of brands out there that
I'm not saying that.
are not that particularly interesting, but they do lots of interesting things that make themselves interesting. Sony, they sell TVs, but they do some really interesting adverts.
Exactly.
They do some really interesting adverts.
Yeah, but that's interesting in a creative way, but like, is that what you want from your insurance company? Or do you just want really reliable, safe insurance?
Yeah.
Different needs, that's why,
I'm not
that's why Henry
saying
Ford came up with a whole different suite.
It's also a way of humanizing it though, because if you do have an insurance agency and you do have to make a claim, you don't want a machine to tell you yes or no, you get the shingles back on your roof. You want a person to empathize with you that a hurricane came through your town and knocked down everyone's houses.
Exactly.
So if it's, you know,
completely agree.
And it's an attention gig, isn't it? I mean, that's like all advertising. It's an attention thing, isn't it? So once you have the attention, then you can sell stuff.
I think it's shifting. Has anybody seen the Olympus Tough advert? Digital camera.
It's good.
I think it's great because it's a use case. You know, wearing a programmer's hat, it's a use case. You know, it shows the product being used by a child in lots of different instances. Yeah, exactly. And then the product comes back to the mum, and she can still use it. So for me, that it's a good creative because it's got a strong, useful message in it about here's how you would use this particular product. And you know, it's not trying to be something that it isn't. It's basically just saying it gets covered in crap and you can still use it. So I think, you know, the whole sort of creative mission that we're on about, you know, putting useful first, it does put us against traditional creative agencies because it's all about compelling entertainment in many agencies. But that's sort of a different story. Jules will no doubt have a perspective on yellow pencils and the obsessional pursuit of their awards for other agencies whom he doesn't know and people get very excited about or not. Anyway, the important thing here is that there's a real mixture. I mean, these are just some of the favourite clients I've worked with, and all for different reasons. And I'll just tell you briefly why I was interested in them. And just out of interest, sorry, just clarify one thing. My business, Get Frank, we chose BBC and Channel 4 in the first year. Our marketing strategy was, let's go choose clients we want to work with. And so that was how we got them. Sony likewise, by the way. And Lonely Planet I worked with at AOL for 3 years, and they were fabulous partners. And BP, as I mentioned earlier, did social media projects with them a couple of years ago, and they were really, really open-minded about how to use the tools inside the business and outside. So they were fascinating. EA, though, that's here. That's brilliant. And the conversations we've got going on there, I think, you know, there's a massive, massive opportunity for us. And I know Jules has stuck into it. Lucy has been as well, and Tim and Anthony and Simon. And in fact, every one of us has been there virtually. But they like us. Yeah, we're chipping away, and you know, and we're going to do brilliant things with them. So this is what really drives me on, is the idea that if we, as a group, all individually think about who it is we want to work with, then you know we can help the biz dev guys to get focus. Because if you're passionate, any one of you, about a particular organisation you want to work with, well, we'll go and get them. There's bound to be something we can do for them. Oops, sorry, missed one. Oh, here we go. It's infinite loop of PowerPoint style chaos. Sorry.
Transition. Teaser.
It's a teaser, yeah. Let me just put this one up. Sorry. Yeah, it's fine. I'm trying to be clever. Let me just change this. Sorry, because there's a
drink down.
Yeah, there's a story on this. Very short one. Fade through colour, no. In fact, turn it off. Right, sorry about that. Not half as scary as Paul Dolman's technology that didn't work the other day.
It's behind you.
Sorry, that's it. Right, the long and short of this is, as Jeff would say, there's a fine line and all that between arrogance and confidence. And actually, I think there's a more interesting fine line between life and work. And actually, it all amounts to about the same. When I put this together last night, I was just thinking, actually, here in my room, I'm listening to some music that I love. I was looking at our footprint as a group, having looked at individuals and what people were doing, blogging, twittering, etc. All of that was great. But then I looked at Spanifest on Flickr, and it's like, shit, there's over 100 photos there. And if I was looking for a job, as somebody mentioned earlier, I think that's a cool place to work. So I think there's a massive, massive role for social media in how we bring people into the business. The BP work I worked on, I proactively sold myself into a company, a smart consultancy called Headship, because I really wanted to work with them. So I just sent them a link to my Flickr page, my Last.fm profile, and my LinkedIn. And I thought, oh, well, that covers me, that'll do. I didn't have a blog at the time, and they just said, yeah, great, come join us. So that was really easy. I didn't have to go through recruitment or anything like that. And I'd met them previously at a conference, so they were like, oh yeah, remember talking to you about something or other. So that was great. And so I think we're going to see more of these things, and this is, I think it's going to be a generational shift. As we were saying earlier, you know, you don't want to be on, you wouldn't want to be on telly with your arse hanging out, so why would you want to be on the web with your arse hanging out? You know, it's the same thing, isn't it? So anyway, all very straightforward. The thing at the end you can't see, this is really important. We've got our website, and I know that, you know, the guys, Paul, Jason, Amo, everybody that worked on the website to get it up in the time that we did for the rebrand was like astonishing achievement in itself. But as a group, I know we all want to push it so much further, and we're sort of thinking, right, I've got this client work and all the rest of it. So naturally, a lot of the good focus is on law inside. So Personally, I'd just love to applaud the team for what they've done on law. I just think it's an awesome thing. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. I mean, as part of knowledge management and how all of this unfolds, it's like we've got something to work with. We know where people are happy talking and what people are happy talking about. To the point where we're now debating, should we just publish law on the outside? Do we let the Americans in? It's like, whoa, hold on a minute. You know, it's like, there's a lot of issues in that. So
Public first.
Yeah.
Public first.
But there was something I define on Google last night, define law, and it just said knowledge gained through tradition or anecdote. I was like, yeah, that's interesting. And there's a lot of stuff being shared in the business. This is really the sort of conclusion point to all this. We are sharing lots of information, so we are inherently connected. So that's why it's a good thing for our brand to be focused around connected. And the whole thing about the brand pillars, did everybody participate in the brand focused group with Arjo, by any chance? Anybody not participate in that?
Participate or
was this the one where
vision.
Was this the one where the room was far too small?
Probably, yeah. But we came up
there.
we came up with some words at the end, which I believe were aware, active, involved, and trusted. Useful and trusted. Well, they're all good things.
On a triple word score?
That's right.
I was wondering how you'd get on with that one, Leon. I thought you'd be freaking out.
The point is, we've identified some words because they're things that can characterise us or the brands that we work with and the way we work with them. And that's good. It's important stuff, and they don't have to be a complete fit. They can be aspirational, but they can actually be used in all sorts of different ways. So I think all that's quite important. So hopefully some of those brand values will make a bit more sense when you think about some of the things in this, about personal awareness as to how aware are you of whether your arse is hanging out when you're putting your pictures on Flickr or whatever it might be. You know, right through to how much trust can you build by sharing bits of yourself appropriately. I think it's all there. So the last point, I'm just going to play the last slide just for self-satisfaction, if nothing else. Yeah, I put a Paul Klee picture up, Paul Klee, sorry, at the beginning. He to me is really inspirational. He's a fascinating artist genius because he was involved in Bauhaus, if anybody knows about that, you know, way back, and he took an approach which was like right back to the, literally what's a line? And you know, he tried to do similar things with sound and music, so putting two things together that are very, very different. It's like, yeah, right, interesting connections going on there. And what he says, in fact, I got this off a school website last night. Klee believed that no work was ever really finished because the world was in flux. I thought, yeah, right, yeah, okay, not wrong there.
Take
Fluid,
that, right.
moving, time passes, things change. And this is the world we live in, we know all that. And we also know that, you know, what we're trying to do as an agency is really difficult, because we have started from a search base, and in fact, some, me particularly, would argue that search is a sort of input, or it's an outcome, but it's not necessarily the centre of everything. And I think we're starting to join other things together and work out exactly what those joins mean. So none of that's done and dusted. So, you know, Ray, Rachel, myself, lots and lots of other people are thinking about these things as to how do we make sense of all this in a way that's compelling, not just for our clients, but for us. So that's really what it boils down to. And I don't know, Tim, do you want to finish off on a thing about knowledge management, or? No? Okay.
Publicly, yeah.
All right, fine, sorry. So that's it really, just wanted to stimulate some, hopefully some sort of thinking about how we interact with each other, what we find interesting, stuff we can share around, build on law, hopefully get our website into a completely different category that really represents what we are, and also that we just keep making stuff and trying new things. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Just say impromptu announcement on the subject of just keep making stuff is that Kickers went live today at 4 o'clock. Really good news. A lot of people worked on it, you know, Jules, Charlotte Plumley, Amo, but Paul Buncombe and Omar done the Herculean task of getting stuff running. So all of that.
Yeah,
What's the URL? I'll see if I can.
Meetthekickers.co.uk.
Sorry.
Safari?
Firefox is doing its updating thing.
Just while we're finishing up, we're going to do a follow-up in a couple of weeks, either with Jason or Anthony, and try and keep